Hi, my name is Amelia, and I'm going to present what I like to call my road trip to silver. After taking my first road trip down to bronze, I felt that my trip had been cut short and simply needed to do some more exploring. So I decided to take a second trip and go down to silver. And it started with meeting with my silver coach, Mrs. Jellison. Our first stop was gold. So what we did, I explained to her that I had the hardest time communicating, and while I'm always on my toes and I'm always physically talking to people, I have a hard time communicating what it is that I feel and even saying no. We compared this to having a plate and how my social life, school, and my job fit on this plate, and that when we eat too much in real life, we end up with stomach aches and an actual physical pain from eating too much. I don't end up with physical pain trying to juggle everything, but I found myself being overwhelmed and burned out all the time, which comes close to physical pain in my opinion. So we made it an end goal and a long-term goal, as well as a professional goal, to not only work on my communication skills, but also take the time to take care of myself, and most importantly, say that if I already have too much on my plate, explain that. We discussed that while communication encompasses a multitude of factors, that is just more than simply being comfortable to speak in front of others, because as I mentioned, I have no problem speaking in front of others. I assured her that as a tutor and volunteer, I had no problem. But it was other factors that I had a hard time with, such as communicating emotionally or explaining to someone why I'm not able to do that task and not feeling guilty for not doing enough and coming up short. After leaving my first stop and establishing the goals, we chose a road we wanted to take to our next stop, which was growth. Because my main goals and professional goals dealt with solely on effective communication and how to improve in that area, we spoke about specifically making it a focus to improve in certain areas such as emotional awareness, how to listen and be heard. I mentioned to her that it was often difficult to express how overwhelmed I felt, or felt like I was falling short or not doing enough if I said no to adding something to my said plate. I explained to her that I am a first-generation college student and a daughter of immigrants, so that most responsibilities always fell back on me. This pressure had taken over all aspects of my life, and I always found it difficult to express my emotions and made sure that it be heard. We made it a point to discuss how effective communication is essential in becoming a leader and essential in spreading social awareness or social change. That if one is not heard as a leader, then one may take longer to create that social change one wants to create. So in order to do my best at improving these areas, at this stop, we made it a plan to simply say no to a single thing every week and do my best to ensure that I had a self-care day each week. I also made it a plan to write down everything I added to my plate, and the next time we would check up on each other, we would talk about everything and discuss everything that I could have gone without adding to that plate, or something that returns every single week that I say yes to, even though I may not have the time. Identifying small actions such as adding more to my schedule allowed me to take a step back in realizing I was trying to fulfill unrealistic expectations that were doing more harm than helping. While it was difficult and it took everything to do my best at saying no, I did manage to express why I was saying no a few times. Again, this was a long-term goal, and so the process is to grow, and I'm still learning and still growing at this stop. After identifying the areas that we needed to grow in order to reach or come further to our personal and professional goal, I got in my little car and I took down the road down to my next stop, which was community engagement. Communication was also key. Spending time at Wake Forest Baptist. I was blessed with the opportunity with working in many areas of the hospitals, such as oncology, the interventional radiology, and patient transportation, where my service was more direct, which by that I mean that I got to work with patients one-on-one. So how did I juggle working in 3 different areas on a single day out of the week every week? Well, as I said, I have the hardest time communicating that I am overwhelmed and will always take on if I know that it helps someone in the slightest bit. Even though it was difficult at sometimes, trying to juggle working in all of these locations, I did my best to split my time amongst them. I enjoyed it very much working with patients one-on-one, doing the variety of things, even it pertained to small activities such as holding conversations with them. Other times, I had the opportunity to transport patients to their destination. My days were filled with activities, but interacting with patients that came from near and far was what shaped my leadership development the most. It gave me a chance to observe how others communicate and how they express themselves, whether it be expressing why they're upset or why they don't like something, to completely the opposite, expressing why they may be filled with joy. It allowed me to sort of adapt those ways into my communication and aid me when expressing why I might not have the time to do something. Another experience that impacted me overall was seeing the patients that came in, despite being in such a gloomy place, still being the sunshine everyone needed. This speaks volumes about resilience, especially during events such as the ones we are currently facing. As a leader, even if a situation may not be the one in your favor, keeping that positivity and encouraging others does more help than harm in the long run. By allowing to see the patients not only communicate effectively, but also maintaining that positivity is what really shaped me to sort of take these characteristics on into not only from silver, but into the real world later on to once I reach those future goals. After stopping at community service or community engagement I took a trip down memory lane and headed over to personal motivation. Wow, personal motivation has been my favorite stop so far. My childhood impacts a lot of what I already have shared. As I mentioned, my parents are immigrants and I am a first-generation college student. That being said, at an early age, I took on a lot of responsibilities, such as taking care of my siblings and taking over parts of our household while both of my parents went to work. Not only that, but I was given other responsibilities such as translating for them, even though I knew very little English, as we only were allowed to speak Spanish in our household. Despite having a multitude of responsibilities at a young age, it has been my biggest motivator to improving those areas that I have discussed. I have used it as a motivator because I know it would be what my parents would want me to do to reach my best potential and become the best version of myself. I know they are very proud of me as it is, but there's always room for improvement, and that little area has pushed me. Another motivator is my career of my dreams. Later on in life, I hope to join the medical field, and I hope to achieve such dreams. I need to ensure that I have better communication tools. By improving such areas, I can ensure that I am able to reach more people and help others. Ultimately, that is what it comes down to, helping others, especially in areas as the one that I call home, where tenants don't have the medical help that they need. By ensuring that I am able to not only communicate effectively within my medical field to express how a lot of areas are underserviced, but also communicating with the patients themselves. Sometimes we forget that communicating effectively can deeply impact how one is perceived or how one gets their points across. Because of that, that is why I've made my main focus to better my communication skills, and why I've used my career and my family as a personal motivator to reach those goals. Wow, after looking back at my motivators and thinking about my family, it made me a little emotional. But we came to our last stop before we reach our destination, and we are now at our future goals. I would say that at this stop is a cheerier one as it filled with the visions that are yet to come and happen, but we are speaking into existence. My main goal for the future is to continue to work on my communication skills. I have improved very little in my opinion, as it is hard to try and take everything on. It feels that I'm helping others. If I'm helping others, then I will take on whatever task I am given. I have improved and started working on expressing why something is not working or why I can't take on that specific task without feeling like I'm falling short, but it's definitely a long-term goal that I will continue to work on as these days pass on. This long-term goal definitely impacts how I achieve my second goal, which is joining the medical field. By getting into the medical school of my dreams, to hopefully become a leader in that aspect where I can spread social change in the medical aspect. Without getting too political, I believe that we do very little to provide that help to a large portion of our community in our country, and I definitely hold that dear to my heart. Wanting to ensure others get medical attention as they need it is something that I strive to work for and create a change in our country. As I mentioned, there's a lot of portions of our community who are underserviced. But if I want to spread awareness and get into that medical school and become a future doctor, I have to ensure my communication and other factors also improve. Being able to voice my opinion and share with medical schools why I perhaps want to join the medical field, and explain to them how being under service has not only impacted my life, the life of my family, but others in my community is essential to my future goals. And to do so, I need to ensure that I can communicate this effectively. Wow, and here we are at our destination, the final stop, the Silver Challenge. I have learned so much from working in the workshops in bronze, the short meetings with my coach. The experience has been one of a kind and yet different. I know that this pandemic has taken over our lives, and it has been interesting to see how we all adapt. While I believe I didn't get the full experience from silver, I will say that there is nothing like it. Being a part of bronze and silver has basically impacted how I see things. It's impacted how something so small, such as communication, can have such a great impact on how I carry myself and how others lead. I believe that taking such tools with me are essential in helping me grow not only as a leader, but as a student, a daughter, and as a friend. It is essential that I ensure to improve in such categories every day so that I'm heard when spreading awareness for positive social change in the medical community and in other aspects. It is important to have such tool as a leader, as you can get your point across. As I mentioned, if one cannot communicate, then there is little room to ensure that the change takes place. I can argue that even if the change is small within myself, then I can spread that small change in our communities. It is important for me to create this social change, specifically in the medical community, because we often rather stay sick and, go on with that pain that we may be feeling than want to go to the doctor because we're afraid that we might not be able to afford those bills, or we simply, don't have the means to take off work and get that medical attention that we need. This is why it is vital and essential for me that I am able to take these tools and continue to grow in them so that one day I can bring that attention and bring that change back to my community and invest it where it is mostly needed. I do believe that also something like this cannot be done, by oneself. I do believe that as a community, we can all create social change. Like I mentioned, especially in times like this where we're facing day-to-day changes, it is essential that we are able to take tools such as communication, such as, maintaining that positivity and resilience to come together and fight against whatever it is that we're facing. Overall, this experience has been a really great one, and I am really happy to have been part of this experience. Thank you.